Hey everyone, this is Randy Pierce from randypierce.com, and I'm here with my friend and business colleague, Anna Frolik. We're going to talk to you very quickly today about what it is like to process or publish your own Oracle deck and what that process looks like. And then Anna's going to introduce you to her new Oracle deck DIY course. We'll go into all the details. She'll have a coupon code for you at the end. But really, this is just a casual conversation between friends and colleagues to let you in on what it's like to publish your own Oracle deck. So Anna, hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Randy. I'm so excited to be here and to be
We
having
are so
this.
excited. Oh, we're so excited to have you here because I know that just being online for whatever the past 15 years, so many of us are familiar with Oracle decks, and I think I know for myself, I've always wanted to publish one. I have clients who have wanted to publish a deck, and we worked together on a project for Luna Moreno when she published her fairy medicine deck. And since then, just sharing it with the community, I've had a couple of people go, oh my God, that would be so cool to do. So I wanted to do this class just really as a casual conversation to let people in on the process. But tell us how you got here and what got you into publishing Oracle decks.
Okay, this is a long story. I'm going to try to keep it fairly short. So I've been around for a pretty long time too. I've been in business for almost 12 years now, and I've done a lot of different things. I got started as a copywriter initially, which is what I did in corporate, and then I got started on a more spiritual journey and started doing intuitive healing work and readings and that kind of thing. And among other things, I really loved working with Oracle card decks. And so as a creative, I guess it was kind of a natural thing for me to have that idea fairly quickly to, create my own Oracle card decks. And I started researching possibilities, how to do this. And I mean, nowadays it's a little bit easier than it was back then. There are definitely more possibilities and more options. But yeah, so I just went ahead and created my first one and then published it, I think through the Game Crafter initially. And that's one of the print-on-demand sites. They're still around. And then I just kept developing it and people really loved it and also started asking questions. I had a lot of intuitives around me who were also curious and wanted to know more about how to potentially create and publish their own. And in the past couple years, I've been actually doing this for my clients. I've been doing a lot of done-for-you work. And I had the course already for a long time, but the one that we're talking about today is a new version that includes everything that I've learned, especially also in the past couple of years, while exploring a lot of different options and different routes with my clients and just working on a lot of different projects. So yeah, it's been a fun process and I'm really happy to be here today.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. So tell us, what's the first most important thing someone should know if they want to publish their own Oracle deck?
That's a good question. I think it really depends on your goals and, where you're currently at in your business. So I think that would probably be the first thing to look at. Are you just getting started? Are you an established business owner who wants to, start adding products to your business and use that more as a way to scale your business or in your marketing? And I mean, there's so many ways you can use your Oracle card deck. So I think that's an important thing to consider when you get started, because there's so many options available. And then, how do you want to get your cards printed? Do you want to print them on demand? Do you want to print them in bulk? And that way you'll just get definitely better profit margin for your products, and also how far do you want to go with your publishing process? Do you just want a product that you can sell on your website, or do you want to be able to distribute them to Amazon and potentially to bookstores all over the world? So yeah, it's not an easy question to answer because it's so different for everybody. And then we could also look at the whole design process. Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want to hire someone to do part of the work for you? And so there are budget considerations. And again, the investment obviously has to make sense for you, and it's going to be different for everyone. So
okay, yeah. And that's definitely, the budget is definitely something that we talked about in our, you did all of the heavy lifting. I just supported Luna with her fairy medicine oracle deck in certain areas. But I did break down that there were 3 key areas. So there's the design, there's the printing, and then there's the marketing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty much it. And I mean, the creative process you could also break down into design and the whole content too. I mean, editing. For a lot of my clients, I do that as well. So most people already have something written, but a lot of people are, not professional writers. So they also need some help with their editing. But yeah, so that's, if you want to break it down into those 3 steps, like the creative process, printing, and publishing, I guess those 2 can go together in some ways. And then, I mean, marketing is, and selling, that's what comes next. And that's also an important part of the process.
Yeah. Typically, how long should someone expect this process to take from start to finish? If everything goes right, if everything goes smoothly, what's sort of like an average timeline?
I think that also depends. If you want to DIY it, it's typically going to take longer, especially if you're not an experienced designer and you have to learn everything from scratch. If you're, used to working in Photoshop and you're good at designing your own artwork and graphics, and you're a fast writer, then it can be a lot faster. So for me, typically when I work with a client, like on a done for you project, or if I create something for myself, which I don't have as much time for now as I used to, but I would say the entire creative process typically takes about 2 months. But again, it can be different. If it's a really simple project, it can be a month. If it's, everything needs to be done, the entire artwork and the graphic design and the writing, if it, the deck includes a full-length booklet, it can take 3 or 4 months depending on how fast someone is. Then printing typically takes about a month, and then delivery can be another 2 weeks to a month depending on whether you get it shipped by sea or air. So
yeah.
So it can be as fast as maybe a month or 2, or it can take up to half a year depending on your process.
Got it. Well, that's actually surprising to me. I didn't know that a project could move as quickly as 1 month, but I can see perhaps maybe they show up with the artwork. They've already got the artwork. You just have to set it for printing, and whatever, they've got everything else that they need. You just deal with, the logistics of getting it printed. But if they have a choice, would you recommend someone do it DIY or hire someone like you to help them through the process?
So that also depends. I would say, if you're creative and you just really love the creative process, you're good at creating your own art and that's your passion, and you love doing the graphic design and everything too, and that's just, it really brings you joy, then I would totally recommend doing it yourself, especially if you have the time to do it. And I mean, for me, that was always a really fun part of the process, and I just love creating my own decks. And I'd say also, yeah, maybe if you're just getting started in your business and you just want to do this as a fun side project, or maybe create a deck as kind of the main source of income for your business. I mean, there's so many different possibilities. Then, I mean, you can totally DIY it. And the people who typically come to me for done-for-you services are people who don't have a lot of time on their hands, who typically have an established foundation for their business already, and they just don't really want to deal with the hassle of figuring out all the pieces on their own, and maybe they're not, you know, that great at graphic design. And I mean, it can be a bit of a learning curve, and if you don't really have a good eye for design, things like that, definitely important things to consider. So yeah, if it brings you joy and you have the time for it, I mean, totally DIY it. If you feel that it just adds a lot of work, you know, to your plate, you already have a full schedule, and it's really, you know, a business investment for you that's going to help you expand your business and support you with your marketing and just through additional sales as well, then and you're just not really enjoying the like all the figuring out all the techie details and Photoshop and all that, then I mean, I'd probably recommend getting it done for you, at least part of it.
Yeah. Well, and there are considerations. I come from a publishing background, and I know that just generally speaking, if you have the designs, they have to be color coded correctly. The file resolutions have to be a certain standard. Then you have to worry about, listen, every printer is different. So some printers print, you know, a little darker. Some printers print lighter, redder, bluer, more. So there are things to consider in the file setup and the design that someone like you can handle because of your experience. And speaking of your experience, knowing that you've published how many decks so far between yours and your clients?
Honestly, I don't really know the number. It's been quite a lot of decks.
Really?
Just in the past year, I mean, in the past year, I've done so many. I mean, I have clients who keep coming back for more decks, and I mean, I've been fully booked for the past year, pretty much without any breaks. I mean, probably about 20 or 25, but I'm not entirely sure.
Got it. Okay, so tell us maybe your top 1 to 3 top lessons that you've learned throughout this process that would be helpful for someone considering publishing their Oracle deck, either done for you or do it yourself.
Top 3 lessons. Well, it's been a long journey. I think one of the really important things, regardless of whether you want to do it all yourself or hire someone to do some of the work for you, is to have a really clear idea from the start, like what you want to create, what you want your deck to look like, what kind of printing process you prefer, if you want to work with a print on demand company or get your decks printed in bulk. This is especially important once you start designing your deck, because as you said, every printer has different requirements. So that's always the first thing I do before I start designing a deck. I always ask the printer to send me the correct templates, because if you don't do that, and that's happened to me, I've had clients who came to me with like half-finished projects that were set up totally wrong, and that, you know, they didn't have the correct templates, and they just kind of eyeballed it and you know, without the bleed, and you know, the color settings were all wrong and things like that. It's so much harder to fix those things later on than it is to just do everything correctly from the start. So yeah, I think that's a really important one. And I mean, also one that I learned very early on in my own journey when I started designing my own decks. What else? I think one thing that has come up for my clients a lot is, and I'm someone who really likes to encourage my clients to think big, and I think that was kind of one area where I was a bit stuck as well in the past, kind of just thinking too small, and just baby steps are fine if you want to DIY it and just kind of see how it goes. But nowadays I encourage everyone to not limit themselves too much and just not be afraid to invest in larger print runs if you really know what you're doing, and just keeping your profit margin in mind. Like one thing I've seen with clients in the past also, who just kind of had one foot in and but not we're not completely ready to move forward. I just see that those who are all in and ready to invest on a bigger level, they just move forward more quickly, and then there's so many possibilities that open up. But again, it really depends on where you are, because this is not general advice for everyone. But definitely if you're, I'd say, at a certain level in your business, really approach it in a professional way, and not just like, okay, I'm just going to give this a try, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But okay, I really want to do this. Maybe I don't know how, but I'm just going to do it, and it's going to work out.
Got it.
In one way or another.
One more logistical question, and then we'll get into the details of your course. If there is a starting budget, generally speaking, what should someone be ready to invest in creating their own Oracle deck? Just generally speaking, a basic starting point.
You can start with very little. If you don't have a big budget, if you want to start with a print on demand production, then you can start with very little. If you want to do everything yourself, you don't really have a lot of upfront investments. And that's how I got started all those years ago, and it worked for a while. And let's say if you want to DIY the entire design and the entire creative process, and you're just investing in printing, so you could either print on demand, or if you want to get your deck printed in bulk right away, that usually starts at about 500 copies minimum. It depends a little bit on the details of the deck. If you include a booklet, how many cards, the size of the cards, and what kind of box, and if you want gilded edges and all those things. But typically, I would say those decks are usually somewhere between $5 and $6 per copy. So yeah, I think somewhere between 2,500 to 3,000 for a 500 copies print run.
Got it.
And if you want to outsource part of the creative work, it's going to be more than that. But
yeah, and really those three main categories that I outlined at the beginning, right? The creative design, the printing and the publishing, and then the marketing. Within each of those main categories, there are several steps, right, to get to the finished category before you can move on. So there are lots of pieces to consider in doing this project. But tell us more about your course and how it breaks down each of those categories, and then the sub steps that you have to take.
Okay, so I'd say the course is pretty comprehensive. I really try to cover everything that I've learned through my own experience, creating my own decks, and also just through the work that I've done for my clients in the past couple of years. And I think the most in-depth part is definitely the creative process itself. Like I really explain in a fair amount of detail how to like pretty much do everything in Photoshop, like how to get the right templates, how to set them up in Photoshop, how to, you know, like, you know, the right color settings and everything. And then pretty much from start to finish, like how to design your cards and your box and your booklet and everything. Also, using the software that I've been using for the booklets as well. And so it's going to be a fair amount of detail. It's probably going to be a bit of a learning curve too, if you're completely new to this work. But I think it's going to be valuable if you really want to do it yourself to, you know, have a clear and detailed walkthrough that just shows you all the tools that you're going to need and the different steps. And yeah, so that's the first part, kind of just getting started with the creative process, the visioning and everything, to deciding what exactly you're going to create, then how to create it, like the more techie details of designing your deck. And then I've also included some information on like, well, where to find the right printing company, different options based on your budget and what exactly you're looking for. And then another thing that, well, has come up for my clients a lot in those projects, you know, how do I then publish my deck, and like, how do I get my ISBN number? Where does it go on the box? Things like that. And then all the way to distribution, and how do I get my deck on Amazon? And also, if you don't want to do the shipping yourself, there are different options as well. So you can outsource that to a third-party company, which is really handy for people like you and me and a lot of my clients who just don't really have the time, or it just doesn't make sense for them to do it themselves, because they really want to focus on the actual work that they're doing. So yeah, a lot of moving pieces, but I really try to, let's say, include as much information as necessary without making it too overwhelming also, but so you can still kind of piece together the process that you need and that works for your project and your deck and where you're at in your business.
Amazing. Well, I'm so glad that you published this course. I mean, even myself, I've looked at publishing my own Oracle deck, I mean, years ago. And I remember I still have the deck that I created. Like, I printed it and I took it to the local printer and I had them laminate them. They're like little pieces, they're little plastic cards. And I remember just, I mean, even, you know, I Googled, right, printing, you know, creating your own Oracle deck. And there's actually not a lot on Google that you can find. Just if you're someone like me who has no idea where to start, no idea where to hire the people to create, you know, design it, print it, or distribute it. And you know, having worked with you on Luna Moreno's fairy medicine deck, you had all those pieces together. And it just made the process seamless. So if you want to learn, so this DIY course, would it also be helpful for someone who works with you as a done-for-you client to better understand the process, just that you're leading them through?
Absolutely. And actually, I just started working with a new client and she wanted both. So I included the course in her package. And so basically, she wants me to do the first deck for her, and then potentially, you know, she wants to create a few more. So she might want to do the others herself. But so I thought, well, you know, if you already know that you want both, I'm just going to include both in your package. So, and even, you know, if you want to hire somebody else to do part of the work for you, it can also still make the process easier, because you're going to get a lot of pieces that you will probably not find so easily somewhere else, because there are so many moving pieces. Mm-hmm. And I'm still learning too. So, you can do a lot of research on Google and kind of find all the bits and pieces of information, but it can take you a long time to get there, because it's taken me like almost 10 years to get to where I am now. So I'd say it would definitely be helpful as well, if, even if you don't want to do the design yourself, if you want to outsource part of the work. So you're still going to get an overview of the entire process, which I think is going to be really helpful.
Awesome. So if people want to learn about your course and enroll, they can go to wonderlandpublishing.net/Oracle. Again, wonderlandpublishing.net/Oracle. I'll put the link in this video replay once I edit it. But tell us a little bit more about, I think you mentioned the coupon code for the people who see this video. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I have a coupon code for you. It's, okay, I turned it around. So it's Magic Oracle 197, all in uppercase letters. And it's valid for the next week. So until, I think, April 5th, if I remember correctly. And so you're going to get a 50% discount. No, not 50%, $150 off the pay in full version. So that's the original price of the old course. And so I think till April 5th, it's going to be valid.
Okay, That's awesome. Well, that's a huge savings, $150 off the full pay, you said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And really, with this course, they will essentially, anyone who goes through this course will essentially have everything they need to either DIY the project themselves and or outsource certain aspects of the process if they choose. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, awesome. So is there anything else that you want people who might be watching this video to know about publishing their own Oracle deck and why they shouldn't wait?
Why they shouldn't wait? Well, if it's something that you've been wanting to do for a really long time, and that's something I hear from a lot of my clients, I've been wanting to do this for so long. I'm so glad I found you. Just go for it and enjoy the process. And I guess, in contrast to that, sometimes I've had people contact me who are kind of, maybe not completely ready, or is more an idea in their head and not really, ready to come to life. And if it doesn't feel like a fully grounded idea that's ready to happen, then, give yourself the space until it feels right and feels ready to do it. But it doesn't really happen that often anymore. I usually get contacted by people who are like so ready to just do it. And so, follow your inspiration if it just feels like something you really want to do and it excites you, and just do it.
Amazing. And if they want to contact you, Anna, to either have a chat or to potentially hire you to just do the entire process, where can they find you to do that?
You can find me on wonderlandpublishing.net or annafrolik.com, or also through Facebook. That's always a good way to contact me. If you want to contact me on Facebook, the best way is to send me a friend request on my private profile and then message me through there, because sometimes when people message me through my business pages, I might not always see it, because just the way the notifications come in, sometimes they're easy to miss.
And they can at least get on the phone with you, have a conversation. You guys can hash it out. They can figure out where they are and whether or not they want to move forward.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I do want to say I have a fairly limited amount of availability for done for you work at the moment. Just, yeah, because I do get a lot of inquiries, and I do have a lot of clients who come back for more. So I'm currently prioritizing clients who I'm already working with. But if it really feels like something you want to do, I mean, definitely reach out. And it might just take a little bit longer right now, but there will also be, I mean, new things opening up and new offers, I think, pretty soon as well. So if that excites you, definitely reach out, and then we can take the next steps from there.
Awesome. Anna, thank you so much for talking about publishing your own Oracle deck. I know that it's such a big thing. And again, like I said, you can search, whatever, you can Google, and it's not really all that relevant. You need someone with your experience and your connections to bring the whole process together. So again, go to wonderlandpublishing.net/Oracle if you want to jump into Anna's DIY course on how to publish your own Oracle deck. Make sure that you enter the coupon code Magical Oracle 197 to take
Magic Oracle.
Magic. Thank you. Magic Oracle 197. Okay. To save $150 off the DIY course that expires April 5th. So do it now if you want to. And then contact Anna if you would like to either have a consult or at least exchange messages to see if, when you can work with her, if you want to work with her at annafrolik.com or wonderlandpublishing.net. Okay, Anna, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing more about this journey. I'm so excited that you did your course. I know tons of people are going to find it valuable. So thank you so much for putting the work into breaking down this very complex process, because it's a complex process.
It is. Yeah, and I hope it was worth the work, but I think it was. It took me quite a while to get it ready, but I'm so glad it's done now. So yes. Thank you so much.
We're so glad that you did it. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with the world. And I will probably see you on the next project.
Sounds great.
Okay. See you later. Bye, everyone.